The headlines made for gloomy reading this week. We heard of the blue chip travel enterprises and retailers making announcements about having to reduce their workforce. In other words, redundancies by significant numbers. BA had 15,000, Airbus had 1,700, John Lewis was up to 5,000, Cafe Rouge, Topshop and Upper Crust announced a combined 7,400. Then you add EasyJet and we're up to 11,000 people who will be having to seek new opportunities this year. And that's awful news for all of those people involved. The reason I'm producing this post is to help you to be more proactive. You know that I've been going on and banging on about being proactive and taking responsibility for your career future, right? Well, let me give you some facts to help you to focus the mind. The number of universal credit claims made by the over 50s doubled between March and May this year. Doubled. There were 660,000 claims in May compared to 304,000 in March. The increase highlights the number of older people who have less than £16,000 in savings and therefore qualify for universal credit. And this, they say, is only the tip of the iceberg. That number is only ever going to be going up, isn't it? 50% of the workforce aged between 16 to 64 are still working compared to 75% normally, and 22% are furloughed. The remainder are students, carers, already unemployed, looking after family, long-term sick, that sort of thing. Unemployment was at 1.3 million to the end of October 2019, and it's forecast to exceed 3 million by the end of October or the end of this year at the latest. Older workers risk being involuntarily retired well before they can start receiving the state pension, or not having time to make up their current earnings shortfall, you know. So let me make the career outlook look real for everyone in terms of age groups. 1 in 3 18 to 24 year olds are earning less than before the lockdown. That's less. 12% of the 40 to 44 year olds are furloughed, 2% lost their jobs and 5% lost pay or their hours. 14% of 40 to 45 year olds are currently furloughed, 4% lost their jobs, 4% lost pay. In the 50 to 54 age bracket, 14% have been furloughed, 1% lost their jobs and 4% lost their pay or their hours. 14% of the 50 to 59s have been furloughed. 3 have lost jobs, 3 have lost pay and hours, and 15% of 60 to 64 are furloughed. 3% are unemployed and 6 lost pay or their hours. And this is the highest in any of the age groups outside of the 18 to 24 year olds. I researched this info from the Resolution Foundation, and it can be looked up if you want to verify it online. I don't say any of this to unsettle or make people feel uncertain about the future. The Prime Minister said that the government cannot keep people on furlough. And from that you can surmise that the process will stop between August and October this year. So think that through for a moment. Many people have either lost their jobs, had hours cut, or have been put onto furlough payments. And it's good that many people have been supported like that by the government in this way, and that's fine. But what happens when the furlough payments cease? What happens when the furlough payments cease for those businesses? My sister-in-law posted some info from ACAS this week about the rules on furlough, which prompted me to expand on what I was already going to include on this post. If the blue chip businesses have been so negatively impacted by the slowdown caused by the coronavirus pandemic, what of the small and medium enterprises that have been unable to trade? What happens when they have to resume their financial commitments, when their income may still be negatively impacted, or they've got unpaid invoices that are not being paid and people not coming back to work as yet for whatever reason? They have to start paying national insurance and pensions from September, as I understand it, and the government will be dropping the contribution to 70%, and then in October they'll be dropping it to 60%, and the scheme itself closes on 31st of October, and many companies will not make it past October. The reason I share this information with you is that, given my role for clients is career advance and career development along with their personal development, I think I'd be negligent if I didn't add some value by helping you to become more proactive, as I've always tried to do. It's better to be proactive than be a victim, right? Taking responsibility for your future means that you have got greater control of what happens to you. So let me ask you this. Imagine that it's October and your manager, the boss, the director, your HR lead, they've contacted you and invited you to a meeting, or it's a conference call, or it's an email, or whatever it is. And at that meeting or that briefing, they tell you that they need to let you go due to the market conditions, the cash flow, the decline in revenues and all of that stuff. They tell you that you might be provided with statutory redundancy pay. And I genuinely hope that it doesn't happen to you. I genuinely hope no one wants that. But if it does, what do you feel at that specific moment? How do you feel? Do you feel pissed off about losing your job? Do you feel pissed off because you knew this might happen and you did nothing? Are you frustrated, scared, anxious, concerned, upset? What do you think on reflection, or what do you wish on reflection that you'd done already? How do you think you'd feel if you had a plan in place in, say, September that you could run with? A contingency plan B, if you like. What could you have done in September that could have made the impact of that meeting less of a disaster for you? How would you feel at the meeting in October if you knew already that you had a contingency plan in place? You may still feel some negative emotion, of course you do, though the uncertainty or the frustration might be less, right? So what one thing will you do today to mitigate any risk? You've got no control over what changes your employer or the government can put in place that will impact you. You definitely don't. But you do have control over your choices. You do have control over your response. Don't behave like a victim. That's all I say. Don't be the person that says, they've made me redundant. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've been told that I have to blah, 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 blah. In those situations, yes, you're on the receiving end and you're unprepared and you have to react, and that's absolutely fair enough. But be the proactive person that says, this is the situation, these are my options, so this is what I intend to do. Now that sounds so much better and it serves you so much better, right? Of course it does. Check out my Revolve blogs, my videos, and look out for a rerun of my Revolve Mastermind later on this month. There you'll find some strategies that will help you to make changes today. It doesn't have to end badly. Being proactive now could even save your job. Think about it.